All right, so in this video, we're gonna go over lumber. We're gonna go over dimensional lumber. We're gonna talk to you about nominal versus actual. I've got two categories up here, nominal and actual. I need to talk to you about what nominal means and what actual means. So when you go buy lumber from the store, probably the most common that everybody knows is a 2x4, right? So you talk about a 2x4, and I ask students all the time, how big is a 2x4? What is the dimensions of a 2x4? The word dimension just means measurement. So what is the thickness? What is the width? All right. A 2x4 is not actually 2x4. That is its nominal name. Nominal just means in name only. It is a 2x4 in name only, meaning that it used to be a 2x4 way back in the day, before sawmills and processing plants came around. A lot of your rough sawn stuff that would cut down a tree, they would send the log obviously through the sawmill, and what come out was an actual piece of lumber that was 2 inches thick, 4 inches wide. Over time, that they have been sending that same 2x4 through planers, and as they send them through planers, they have reduced down the thickness of the 2x4. It used to be like 1 5/8, and now it goes all the way down to 1 1/2. All right, so nominal just means it is a 2x4 in name only. So when I ask you for the nominal name, you would say 2x4. I ask you for the actual thickness and width, you would say 1 1/2 or 3 1/2. So that's what we're going to get into. We've got 10 pieces of wood that we're going to go through. Typically, I have these numbered because if we have normal class, I have students get out a piece of paper and actually take notes. But we're going to go through this first one. If you look at number one is a 1x6. All right. So we're going to write this down. That way everybody can keep up. 1x6. By is designated with an X. All right, so if you go to 1x6, that's what it looks like. Now, that is its, sorry, I should have written this up over here under nominal. 1x6. Now it's actual thickness and width. Thickness of 1x material, all 1x material. So if it's 1x6, a 1x4, a 1x8, a 1x anything, all 1x material is 3/4 of an inch thick. So that is our thickness. By our second number is 6. That is 5 1/2. Okay, so if your width is ever 6, it's actually going to be 5 1/2. Now the reason that we have to talk about this is because in construction, if I'm going to put number 2 down here, these go on your deck a lot of times. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I'm going to put these down. I need to know that these boards are 5 1/2 inches wide so that I can order the correct number of them, all right? Or if I'm gonna be cutting a notch out for something, I can cut out a notch that is the correct width. So you do not wanna be ordering not enough of these and have to go back to the store, because going back to the store can cost you time, and which costs you money and labor. Same deal if you're cutting out a notch, you don't wanna cut out the wrong size notch for something. You don't wanna cut it out too big and then have to take out a whole new board so that you can pass code, all right? So this is 1x6. So all of your numbers are going to come in thickness first, by width is always second, and then length. So thickness, width, length. All right, so there's your thickness, there's your width. Now, we haven't put a length on this. I've put all these down to the same size, same length. Most of your lumber is all going to come in one of a couple of lengths. There are standard lengths that lumber comes in. So 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot, and 16 foot. You can special order like 20 foot and some other stuff, but your most common stuff, if you go to Lowe's, Cycle Lumber, Home Depot, any of those places, you're gonna find lumber that comes in 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot, 16 foot. Those are gonna be your common. So we're not putting a length on this right now. Your next one, if you actually compare it to the 1x6, they look very, very similar, all right? They're the same width, but they are different thicknesses. This is a 1x6, number one's a 1x6. This is 5/4 decking board. All right, and most of these you're gonna buy, this one's not, but most of these you're gonna buy is gonna be treated. All right, so this is a 5/4 decking board. This is how we write 5/4. So you could write 5/4 by 6. I happen to know that it's by 6, or you could write out here decking board. All right, this is what you would put on your deck at your house if you're going to build a deck, right? This is what you put on top of the floor joists. 5/4 your actual thickness, if you were to turn that into a proper fraction, 4 goes into 5 one time, and 1 left over, so that would be 1 1/4. Your decking boards, just like they used to be 1 1/4 at some point in time, I'm assuming, but they are actually a nominal or an actual thickness of 1 inch by 5 1/2. We're going to move on to 3. This is the most popular that most people know. Is number 3. Number 3 is a 2x4. You look at it, all right? It used to be, way back in the day, 2 inches thick, 4 inches wide. Now, with planing stuff down and dimensional lumber, so it's a 2x4 nominal in name, and it's going to be 1.5 by 3.5. This is fairly easy to remember. If you look at the relationship between these, 1.5, they took off a 1/2 inch from the 2, they took off a 1/2 inch from the 4, so you got 1.5 by 3.5. All right. Your next one is going to be a 2x6. All right. Now your 2x6. There's a 2x4. There's a 2x6. All right. They're the same thickness. All 2x material, just like with 1x material. All 2x material is 1.5 inches thick. So you've got a 2x4 and a 2x6. The only difference in these two are the widths. All right. So this is a 2x6. Number 4 is your 2x6. And I should have talked about this just a second ago. 2x6. Now, based on what you know from the first one, all 2x material is 1.5 inches thick. All right. Your 6, we've had 6 before, so you can kind of figure that out. You take off a 1/2 inch from there, and it is 5.5. All right. Let's talk about use for a second. 1x6s, this could be used for a little bit of everything. This is what we actually build birdhouses out of in the shop. You could use this kind of a utility type deal. 5/4 decking board use in a house is going to be obviously for decking. This is going to go in your decks. 2x4s is the reason everybody knows them is because they're so generic. But you use these for wall studs, for any sort of bracing. But the vast majority of your house and the walls have 2x4s in them. Some houses, double wides typically are made with 2x6 walls to make them a little stronger. And any walls in your bathrooms, in and around your bathrooms where you're going to have plumbing, a lot of them have 2x6 walls. But only the walls in and around your bathroom are made from 2x6s. The reason being, in plumbing, you have to take out a hole to run your plumbing through. If I were to take out a 2-inch hole in the center of this, I don't have enough meat, all right, holding this stud up on either side to keep it from crippling under weight. So we've got to beef our wall up to a 2x6. Let me make sure this video is still rolling. I don't want to be talking to nobody. Our next board is going to be a 1x4. So if you look at it, this wide, that thick, all 1x material, just like I told you earlier. Here's a 1x6, here's a 1x4. Same thickness, different widths. All right. So that's a 1x4. I told you this earlier, but all 1x materials have that. 3/4. And 4, we've had a 4 before, you take off a 1/2 inch. So if you see a 1, you're going to take off 1/4 inch. If you see a 4 or 6, thus far you're taking off a 1/2 inch. Good deal? So there's 1 through 5. 1x4s, we use these for stripping in houses. If you're going to put, let's say that we had rafters. Your rafters are 1.5 inches thick. And instead of having to screw drywall to an 1.5 inch board, a lot of people put stripping up. I put stripping up in my house when I put the drywall up. It gives me a lot more surface area here to hit. A lot easier to hang drywall, especially for beginners. So if you've never hung drywall, it just gives you a lot more meat to hit. But you can use this for some light bracing. I wouldn't use it for anything big. This next one, everybody confuses this for whatever odd reason with plywood. This is not plywood. All right, this is OSB. OSB. All right, this is 3/4 OSB. OSB you can buy in different thicknesses. You can get it in 1/4, you can get it in 3/8, you can get it 1/2 inch, 5/8. All right, so number 6 is 3/4 inch OSB, and that 3/4 inch refers to the thickness. The reason that we don't have any other dimensions, this right here comes in sheet material. All sheet material comes in a 4x8 sheet, meaning 4 foot by 8 foot. So if you actually see this on a website or anything like that, instead of OSB, they're going to put by 4 by 8 OSB. Okay, so it's a 4 foot sheet, 4 foot wide, 8 foot long, and that covers 32 square feet. Different. This particular OSB right here, I know where I cut this off of, because when I cut it, this is off of Advantage. This is what goes on the subfloor in your house. So in your house, if you've got carpet, hardwoods, tile, anything like that, underneath that is this. This is what's sitting on top of your floor joist. All right. So the 3/4 inch OSB, that is the standard around here. What we use for subfloor. We put 1/2 inch OSB on walls, and we put 5/8 OSB on roofs. So the floor needs the most, it's got to be the thickest because it's holding up the most weight. Your walls is the thinnest, it's 1/2 inch, because it's not actually holding up any weight, it's just enclosing the size of your house. And 5/8 is on the top. Your shingles are obviously going to be sitting on them, they're pretty heavy. This right here, this particular one has a tongue on it, and if you could see the backside, if I had the full sheet, there'd be a groove. The tongue locks into the groove whenever you're doing tongue and groove floor system. This stuff right here, OSB, I think I said it, stands for oriented strand board. This is basically, I think it's fairly easy to tell, they took wood chips, put them in a press with glue, heated it up, and pressed out a sheet of this stuff. And this is fairly economical. You would use this over plywood when appearance is not a factor. Appearance is obviously not a factor because this is going under your finished floor, whatever your finished floor is, whether it be carpet, hardwood, you're just not going to see it. All right, so that right there is OSB. It doesn't have an actual versus nominal. Okay, it is just what we call it. Number 7. This is a 2x10. All right, if you look at it, it's 1.5 inches thick. Now this is where we change things up a bit, so we're going to go to number 7 here. 2x10. The thickness stays the same. Up till this point, the second number we've been taking off 1/2. Once you get to if the second number here for the width is 8 or higher, 8, 10, or 12, you take off 3/4. So 10 minus 3/4 is 9 1/4. Now, when I say that, that's fairly generic because different lumber companies have their planers and their sawmills and stuff set up differently. So it's always a good practice to measure across here and see what the actual width is, because I've gotten some that are 9 5/16, like a 16th off. I've gotten some that were 9 3/8. All right, so it's always good practice just to measure across here, but what they should be typically is 9 1/4. Now, 2x10, this is a fairly large piece of board here. You've got, use these for floor joists in a house a lot of times. You can use these for headers above doors, depending on the span of the door. All right, so this is large, heavyweight. You know, you're gonna hold up some pretty heavy stuff with it. So this is typically if we get a Habitat, this is typically what they use for floor joists. All right, and if you ever crawled under a crawl space or went in a basement, this is typically what's under it. All right. Next one is plywood, number 8. Now plywood has these little individual layers. Those little individual layers are called plies, hence the name plywood. The difference between plywood and this, all right, this has all these little individual wood chips in it. This has individual, what they do is they take a log, put it on a lathe. That lathe peels off one real thin sheet of wood from around that log. They take those little thin sheets, they're big, I don't know if you can actually see the little plies in there. They put glue between each one of those little plies, those little sheets. They put it in a press, they heat it up, and they mash it together. if you'll look at this, the grain on this one is running this way. The grain on the second one, I can't see it, but I know this, is running this way. And what they do is cross stack their grain so that it makes it stronger. All right, so if they cross stack grain, so they alternate each one. The grain runs this way on one, the next sheet, the grain's gonna be running this way. So this is plywood. Plywood you're gonna use, there are different grades of plywood. Plywood you're gonna use where appearance matters, typically over OSB. OSB you're not gonna see. Plywood's more expensive because it looks better. You've got several grades of plywood. You've got A through D, and then you have the superior, the best grade is N. N is cabinet grade plywood. So cabinet grade plywood is gonna be, you know, it's not gonna have any imperfections in it. This right here is actually A grade plywood. This is a Rauco plywood, got it from Side Lumber. A grade is your best grade other than N grade. So N has its own like little separate category, and then you have A through D. This is A, then you got a B. B will have like a knot or two in it, and then C, and then D. D is like your stuff that you're, you know, really it's not appearance grade stuff. You can also buy like AC plywood. So an AC plywood means that one side would be an A, and if you flip that whole sheet over, this would be a C. All right. So plywood also, this is 3/4 plywood. You can get it in various thicknesses, quarter, and many different thicknesses. Number 8 is 3/4 plywood, and you can get it in different thicknesses. And plywood, it comes just like OSB in sheets. So it comes in a 4x8 sheet. All right, 4x8 sheet. So this comes, the big sheet, all right, I'm sure most of you have seen plywood in some form of fashion. It doesn't have any actual versus nominal, anything on it. So you don't have to worry about OSB or plywood with actual versus nominal. All right. Next one. This is 1x8. 1x8, same deal as 1x6, 1x4. So number 9, 1x8. I'm running out of room here. All of my material is 3/4 thick. Fine. I told you if the second number is 8, then we've got to take off 3/4. So this ends up being 7 1/4. Good deal. You can use this for shelving. You can use it for, a lot of times people use this stuff for like shelving, small projects around their house, stuff like that. All right. Number 10, this is a 2x8. I'm gonna write it over here. 2x8. Now this particular one, I don't know if you can see a color differential between this one and this one. This has a green tint to it. This one's pretty dried out though. It's got a green tint. This is treated, all right? Treated lumber has chemicals that have been pressed into the wood to be able to withstand the weather and being outside. So if you're gonna use anything outside, let's say on your deck, you're gonna wanna get treated wood. If it's gonna stay outside permanently, get treated wood. In code, as far as building goes, you have to use treated lumber in contact with masonry or concrete. If you put a normal kiln-dried stuff in contact with masonry or concrete, over time, the chemicals in the concrete will eat this up. So we use this for like a sill plate on a house, we use this for decks, all sorts of stuff outside. So treated stuff, it's for concrete, masonry, or anything outside. All right, and a little more expensive because this went through a process. Your treated, or your 2x8, sorry, is 1.5, just like all 2x materials, 1.5 by 7 1/4. Right? So if you see anything with a green tint in the shop, it's your pressure treated stuff. A lot of places leave their pressure treated stuff outside because it's pressure treated, and so it's got a lot of moisture content to it. This one has been in my shop this whole time. One thing I did want to point out, I don't know if you can see this stamp or not. Your stamp right here, this says KD, that stands for kiln dried. Number 1 is the classification of wood, meaning number 1 wood is good wood. You also got number 2, meaning it'll have more imperfections like knots and streaks and stuff like that in it. And then SYP down here is southern yellow pine. All right, so if you see a stamp, that's some of the abbreviations stamp-wise. I didn't talk about this one and this. If you look at this, the grain in this is a lot more yellow than this. This is white pine. This is kiln-dried white pine. Kiln-dried means that they put it in basically a big kiln, a big furnace, and heated it up and got a lot of the moisture content out of it. The difference between that is the opposite of kiln dried would be air dried. Air dried, you're not going to get the moisture content out of the wood the same way you would kiln dried. This is white pine. This is yellow pine. Number 7, that's yellow pine. You can see that the grain has got a more yellow look and it's got a more defined grain to it. All right. These two right here, I just want to talk about real fast. Don't have to write these down. This is a stair tread. It's got a rounded nose on it, 11 inches this way. This is what you put on your stairs for tread and stain it. And this is a piece of lumber I found. This is a hardwood piece of lumber, but this is actually 2x material. So this is something that hadn't been planed down, actually 2 inches thick. So if I told you 2x6, you know, 2x6 is 1.5 by 5.5. This is actually still hadn't been planed down. So this is like straight from the sawmill. Good deal. You'll probably have a quiz or video that goes along with this. You're probably watching it now. But this is stuff that you need to know for my class. This is not busy work. I can either go over this on video or I can go over this with you sitting in class. But one way or the other, this information is going to get taught to you.